send this thing around since it's Dechigi Aya Kalk Dechigi Achtuasagu Heshtis Chatsai Ach Ya Achtuasagu Tsu Yi Sachwa Ach Dasa dot Yituasagu Yu Wushu Chatut Atki Yewe Achtuasagu Chasaku Achtuasagu Kagaki Ap Tlingit yu Tlingit tin. One Panins Kesh yu Tlingit aya Wututli ye Haka Konetli aya Hayu Tlingit Wututli yehi. Achtuasagu Taskia Ap Adasai Tuasagu Adat Yuhi Ayitla Atki Kaka Kwati. So Tuesdays I like us to just sort of start off by going around, everybody says something. So we've been doing this for a number of weeks now. Some of the things I think about is if you're not talking in the language, then sometimes it just gets hard to make the language. You start end up sort of, so you've got basically speech, you got comprehension and speaking, and it's common for the comprehension to take off faster than the speaking at this sort of point that we're kind of getting towards. So let's just send this around. Everybody say something. At some point, we'll be able to just sort of engage in kind of longer conversations. But the goal right now is just to say something and share something, and then we'll go on to the next thing. So who wants to go first? I'll take that as a volunteer. A sneeze is just like saying, "Oh, me, please." So as you guys go from now on, like when you got the weekend, start putting some stuff together. I mean, I know you guys have probably been doing that already, but it's a no pressure thing. It's not like I'm up here marking down, a percentage of how well this is going. It's just a chance to share your thoughts and the types of things that you're trying to put together as far as a language learner and speaker.
Gandith Achi.
Oh, good.
Yan Uwala.
Tiyanaka.
Yan Uwala.
Uwasha. Okay. Peace. Yan Uwasha. Yendi Uwada. Yan Uwasha. Yekusha.
I was using it as the tide is down. Is that right?
That is correct. That is correct. The tide is low. So Yanatlain, it's getting low. Yanuashla, the tide has gone out. Yanuada, the tide has come in. So the da is flowing, the shla is melting. So it flows in, it melts out. It flows in, it melts out. And so as Halloween is coming, if you dress as a na'ati, and somebody pours water on you, it's another variation. You could say like, that also could mean it melted, right? Like if there's some block of ice here, like we saw with our little penguin, and his thing melted. Yanuasha. Yikay, finish cheesh.
Yan Khwasane Yajane Yayaki Khwachash.
Okay.
Klet da Buxatan Shakte Yayaki.
Ha, Yayaki, Kshadim. Ha. Yaway, Yatitin, Yuchatan, Achoy. Kach sa tanjin a kachoe wutisati glade kunachoe glade dark wusatan wega what ginsoe hakach hakade echosaku sanikatsu washyachan echosaku yake yewetsu shkaway Yeah, like Hachina Hue, Lynn Canal, Ye do a sako. Code. Tech 18 Kach Aya Hasu Puch. Was a katut de has ausatin. Yin de away waha with late. Ha has ausakuk. Eka away talk hadeya kunahi. Long time ago, they used to watch in the Skagway Haines area. And they said once the snow gets down halfway down the mountain, they would go out on the water a lot less. They would hardly ever go out on the water because they knew that winter was coming and the hard winds were going to hit that canal. So it's not the same in all places, but up there especially it's pretty rough. Okay?
I don't know if I got this in the right order.
Let's get it.
Tlingit, shtuchat ashtu. So I don't know, do you say chat shtu ashtu, or do you put the chat before the? So I'm trying to say I study it regularly.
Shtuch ashtu, yeah. So shtuch ashtu, and then to get the regular part on that, which is a good question. We'll consult.
I looked it up and it's ALTOOWX. I just can't pronounce it.
Oh, shtuch.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good.
So probably
Well, it's yeah. So so we can go study. Oops, stuck. We're not stuck. We're studying. Oops. Read. Not ready. So here's 2, and we get reading, counting, teaching, studying, learning, and practicing, right? And so what we're kind of looking at this one. So you could say shtuch, which would be I always study. But then this one is what we're looking at is regularly. So you'd say.
So does the chat, if you're saying I study it regularly, would that come before the shtu, or like where does that come, or does that work?
That's a good question. Let me. Oops, sorry, online gang. Let me share the screen. I always do that. You guys just gonna have to shout at me when I start doing that. Just say, "Oh, are you guys online?" If I'm not sharing the screen, say "Wuschneiderhain," which is the command form for share. Share it. Fool. Okay, let me turn the chat thing back on. Get this over here. So here we are. Sorry, we went back to our Tlingit verb. So Tlingit, and then we see this Tlingit verb 16. We can go down to 2 in this case, which is to read, count, teach, learn. Let me just scroll this thing down. And then okay, and then we got a couple sentences to read. So we've got read, count, teach, teach it. So there's a couple things here. One is you're going to start to become familiar with these things where a verb can have an object, but there's a lot of times where you can kick that object out. And so some of the differences would be I am teaching him or her, so I'm just teaching them all kinds of things. I'm teaching them fishing and hunting and reading and count. I'm just teaching them all kinds of stuff. But if you're teaching some specific thing, then it ends up having an object. And we see that here. So we have study. Like, what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to study. I'll study my math, and I'll study my English, and I'll study my Tlingit. But if you say, I'm going to go study Tlingit, then you would use this one. So there is a difference on whether there's an object or not. So the object is really like, is there some specific thing? So this is the difference between I want to eat and I want to eat halibut, right? So those are a couple of different things. So when we, so this is what it looks like. Click on the yellow to open it. We come down here and we see, so there's a couple of command forms. Shtu, right? Like, y'all study. And we don't tell people not to, but you could. And then we get down to these repetitive imperfectives, which means it happens on a regular basis, right? Not every time. So like there's a difference between these verb modes. So we have a perfective habitual, which means this would mean like, oh, I study every waking hour. I do it all the time. And then you have, to do it on a regular basis. So as you see this, and then you see it's in the third person, how to put it into the first person is you go back up to the theme, and what's the big thing that it shows? What are we looking for? Subject pronoun. So we can change that subject pronoun. So in this case, we should start to get familiar with the fact that this is the A is the third person object, then right next to it is a zero marker as a third person subject, then the L as the classifier. So all of this is going to stay the same. The only thing you'll change is the object and the subject. The object will stay the third person, but because the subject is switching to first person, it won't be an A anymore. So that'll be chashtuch. Chashtuch would be I study. So Tlingit chashtuch. So this is something you could say to people just to say, this is something I do regularly. I study Tlingit, right? And so these are some other things, as you encounter other verbs like this, there's going to be this thing, like this is just, it's something that I do. It's something I do regularly. From Chukan, we have awadak yagidat. Finally. So for the finally part, that one's a really fun one. There's like two ways to say it, kind of depends on where you're from. So if we look at the dictionary, there's a couple entries for finally, and this one was pretty fun because I was in a room with some elders when they were just talking about some words they don't hear very much anymore, and one of them was this one for finally. And I still like to have conversations with them about it. And this thing, I updated my software, now it doesn't search very fast. Hold on a second. And now it's just going to think about that. Oh, there it is. So we do a find and we say finally. Start flopping around because it's taking forever. Okay, well we have finally here. So there's two ways to say it depending, and so this is that. Sometimes it's a Y, sometimes it's a W thing. I usually hear it with the Y in there. But this is something that both of these are what we'll call adverbs. And adverbs come before the verb, right? So the first way we can say this, let me make this bigger. This is probably the most common way to say it, this first one. Oops, so let's ignore this stuff. So we're going to say, Satguyeka. 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 And so the way an adverb works is there would be a verb after that. Like, for example, if I've been waiting, like a friend of mine was going to come visit, but it just never worked, and finally they came to visit, I might say, Satguyeka ich finally, I see you. Right? So Satguyeka awadak yayaki. Finally, it stopped like raining is probably what we're focused on right now. But snow is coming, as we sort of recently talked about. Let's see if this one. And then if you live in Teslin, you would probably say dehua. I would say dehua. 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 So we'll get into adverbs a little later. There's a bunch of them. There's not a whole bunch, but there's quite a few, and they just you just give that verb a little bit more sort of qualities. Qashtin says, Saknain Lit'a Ach Chi Yanik Ach Kashk Adishit Hatge Wush Hoot Ajikawaha Dagunjin Kat Pounds. Pounds is a dashi. Saknain Kahuk Nusk gallons. I think a gallon is gallon. Ateish. Nusk ateish. Masus tlatechani kausagun. Yake. So there's quite a few things here. Saknin Lit'a Achi Yanik Achkash Adishi. Maybe Achit Wadishi Tatge Wush Chut Ajakawaha Dakhun Jinkat Adashi Saknin Kahuk Nask Katesh Masus Atachani Kausagu. Okay. Let's see if I can interpret this. The bread smells good. My shoulder is sore. I think this one is my paternal niece or nephew helped me to mix 4 pounds of flour and 3 gallons of milk, and it was fun. Is that close? Check. Oh, okay. Yeah, so that was great. Saknain Lit'a. So we can use some punctuation and stuff to separate some of these, and some other words, like you could say Saknain Lit'a Achik Yanik. So that's one sentence, like the bread smells good, but my upper arm is sore. Achkash. And then whatever that verb, if it's to help me, achit would the she would be helped me. Or you could just say achkash kutin with my niece or nephew. Wushchut achakawaha dagunjin katadashi saknin kahuk kanask katesh masus atachani. Period. Kausagu. Yeah, so periods work really well. But yeah, it's all there. All those pieces are there.
Is that written on the screen? Can we see that?
Yeah, I should put the chat up there. So here's the. So here it is, and then that doesn't help anything. But what I can do this. Let me figure out a workable solution. Thank you for pointing that out. There's always like something. Technology is like the modern day raven. Make this a little larger. So this is what we're reading. So we got saknain. Lit'a is just something to smell good, like it smells yummy. Achik yanik. Achkash. There's usually 2 A's there, kashk. And then adishi. So if you want to say helped me, achit wudishi. Tatke. And then if we wanted some like saknin lit'a hu achik yanik ach kashk achit wudishi tatke wushchut ajakawaha dachun jinkat adashi saknin kahuk hanask Ateish masus atachani. And then kausagu would be it was fun.
Masus.
Yeah, so atachani, so we know wasus or masus, and then the ta is a breast, and then tachani is like kind of like love inside, I think is the closest way to translate that. But it's a pretty literal term, you know, as far as was. Okay. Okay. Anyone else? I do decide that. Well, again. Talk shit. Anyone? Anyone online want to go?
I have a question.
Okay.
Wasa Dosak, I hit every red light on the way here. Tlingit Pinach.
So you'd say, so cha. So shtakat is every, but cha shtakat is like every single. So it's a cha shtakat way on yachyati tzina agate chwakuch clay hade yan cha. So so a gate is a really kind of a fun one. It's sort of like up against something, and there's a bunch of ways it's sort of used. It could just mean things that are touching, to run into something, to fall against something. This is, you say like a gate would mean like he or she fell against it, but it's usually translated as like they're up to shenanigans, or they broke the law or something. So so a lot of times we say the color, so there's a bunch of Tlingit colors, and then yachyati is to follow up with it, and that helps to communicate that we didn't run up against fire, right? Because people might, you know, there's a little bit of debate on whether you need the yachyati in there or not. So it's always safer to put it in there. Yachyati, speakers are telling us that it just sounds better with it. I know some speakers though who would just say ina, and I think it's fine because there's a whole bunch of things that we see historically where a color can just become basically an adjective. But yachyati is safer, so people know you're talking about a color. Ina is a light. A gate, chwakuch, would be I drove up against it, like right up to it. Like if, it wouldn't be like crashed into it, but if you were backing into your garage or something, or driving into your garage and then you bump the wall, that would be a gate. And then if two people, you say wushke tasmudat, they ran into each other, they met, they encountered. And then clay is a nice little linking thing, and it means at that time, or then, or when. Hade yanchakuchu, would be when I was driving here. That's how you do those things together. Okay. Anybody else got some? Okay. Shken, my action. Let me mute myself because we're getting a little bit of feedback. Where am I?
I was trying to piece together what I was watching. So I found Hitya Anasech Chlatin.
Okay, so I was watching the Hitya. I'm not sure if I caught all of that part. So
all it was there. There was a house there a minute ago and they just tore it down.
Oh, holy. Yeah, so hitya khwatlatin. I was looking at that house, I was watching it. So when we get to there, yeah, to watch something, let me close this. Whenever you're using this, it's good to close the windows when you're done. So we have teen, and this is to kind of watch something. Like if you're watching TV or if something's happening and you're just kind of watching it happen. So it's more than just sort of I just looked at it or I saw it. This has more to do with like just observing. But it also could mean like you were taking care of it, right? Like I was taking care of this puppy or I was taking care of this, I was taking care of my kids or your kids or whatever. And then we go to the perfective version because like you say, this was something that had happened. Khwatlatin is what we're going to use. So khwatlatin. And so this could be all kinds of things. Like I was watching this boat go out and I was watching this house or I was watching, so in this case you could say something like, you could say something like, awaqi tunakh. So through the window, we hit khwatlatin. It's like I was watching this house through my window, and then you could say something like aqa huchk has outlayech. Make sure I get that huchk in the right spot. I think that's how you say it. So to like, this is what you get when people like tear things down and stuff. Oh, where'd it go? So you get it here. Oh, there it is. Huchk. So it's a pretty cool one. So the verb would be the same as making something. So you could say huchk outlayech. But it gets, and there's a couple of verbs where if you add this, I put the wrong suffix on there. But if you put this X kind of suffix on here, the meaning kind of changes. So in this case, huchk outlayech would be they wrecked it, they destroyed it. And so it's interesting because they made it into nothing. It's kind of how it works because huch means it's all gone. So you could say huch has achiti. They tore my house down. And so there's some things you could say like that. With this tlayech verb, it means to make something. And so like if we look it up on this verb database here, so we look up yech and we get to build or to use. And so we can see these different verb modes and then we can conjugate them. But then there's a couple things that we add, like for example, you could say kaya kajait outlayech. He or she made a chair. But if you're pointing at like a rock and you could say ya te kaya kajait outlayech. By putting the X suffix on there, you're saying they didn't make it, they used that rock for a chair. So it's to use something as something. And so it's a real subtle difference, but those are some things you'll encounter when people are talking and telling stories and stuff, because you might hear a story and say, oh, he made a chair out of a rock? But if you catch that little underlined X on there, and then you can see that it's doing the same thing with the hooch. So you've got hooch, shagech, and that means to wreck it, to just totally destroy it.
Can we see the sentence again for just a minute? The written down one that you did on the.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
So, awaqi tunach we hit khwatlatin, aqahuch has shagech. And then they tore it down, they destroyed it. There's probably different ways you could say it. Hasakausha, what would be they broke it. And so there's a couple different ways you can sort of talk about it. Set is the verb to tear something, but we say like they tore it down. But we probably wouldn't say really to tear it in Tlingit. It would be like fabric or something like that. But then that set is one that they use to like rip something out of someone's hand. You could use it for that too. Anybody else want to take a turn? Sort of.
Chut would be chut. Ku achtuusigu. Ye jene achkusikhan.
Oh, you can.
Cha ayachapwe.
Yeah, what? Chet with the chet. Ach tu musaku. Ach. But and so there is sort of like if we say something like this was something that I'm still trying to figure out in my brain, because we might say something like this. But what the elders were telling me, because I kept putting chesachan on a bunch of different things to say like, I love this, I love that. But if you keep going back to my favorite movie to reference, the movie Anchorman, this guy's like, I love lamp. It kind of sounds like that, where they're like, I love the lamp, you know? And so, and it's kind of weird because this is probably what they would prefer, is ach yejene ach tuwasagu. And we need context, because we've learned that means I want it, but it also means I like it. You know, and so whenever I ask them to translate, like, I love, if I say, I love Nayadi, they'd say, Nayadi ach tuwasagu. That was consistently how they were translating it for me. So just ach tu, and it doesn't mean I want to go to work. It just means I'm happy, you know, I like my job, or, you know, there's different sort of ways you can interpret that. So Hawaiian works the same. Like, it's not always that you want it, it's just that you like it. So it's just kind of an interesting way to think about it.
So we don't need a chesachan.
Yeah, well, for like chesachan, when you say chesachan, you're usually talking about living things that you can go next to and see. I've heard it in other ways, but that's I was working with Marge and George earlier in the spring, and that was something that they said. They said chesachan usually means to like go be next to somebody. Like, I like being next to them. And so,
Chesachan?
well, chesachan. Okay, so here we've got the noun chesachan, which is just love. And it usually means of people, because there's a embedded verb in there. It's from a verb.
Okay.
Right? So the verb is sechan, and then there's some different combinations we could put in there. So if we think of it like this, object, subject, sechan, now we should be able to start using this verb, right? So this is a lovely verb to start with, right? So we say, I love him or her. How would we say that? It would be, so the object would be third person, it would be zero. Subject would be I, which would be cha. So chasechan, right? I love him or her. I love you. Ichsechan. So now we've just changed the object. So it goes object, subject, verb, right? So now we say, I love y'all. Yichsechan. So we get a little bit of a separation there. I love them. Chasechan, right? So chasechan, ichsechan, yichsechan, haschasechan. So this is all the cha. This is that part. So that, and then we have to recognize who is doing it, who is it happening to. It's kind of the basic sort of place we start with. And so we see this, and we've got our little handy dandy cheat sheet, which I guess I should put up in the background if I could find it.
So is it hut iksehan if you're trying to say I love you? Or no?
Yeah, so I love you is iksehan.
Okay.
Let's see. Let me get this over and I can. Oops, that's not going on.
Isn't there a W after the X?
No, well, that would be perfective, and so we're not going to make it perfective right now. Oh, this was the one. Oops. Okay. It's only because I have a million copies of it. Oh, it's subjects. That one. There. Okay, so we got this in the background. I don't know what happened this. On the break, I'll see if I can get the resolution. It looks fuzzy to me. So we've got that. Then we got this. Let me see if I can get these guys to sort of. So let me move this over a little bit. So there's the object, there's the subject. You can see them right there. Get rid of this thing. So we've got. So we're changing things a little bit. Chasachan, I love him or her. Ichsachan, I love you. Yichsachan, I love y'all. Haschasachan, I love them. How about I love people? I'm a people lover. I'm just a lover of people.
Come on.
Ha, but there's, and you just got to get a feel for when it does it, but it would be Chochsachan. Chochsachan. Okay, so let's do these. Chasachan. Chasachan. Ichsachan. Ichsachan. Yichsachan. Yichsachan. Haschasachan. Haschasachan. Chochsachan. Chochsachan. Okay, so how would you say you love him or her? Accusations will begin. What's the object going to be? Let's write it out. So the object should be 0. Subject will be, because that's the third person. You are number 2. And we're going to get sechan, okay? So now we know the subject is right. The subject is the second thing that we encounter, right? So now we say you, so we say isechan. You love him or her. You love me. Y'all better get this right.
Oh.
We are breaking up if you don't get this one right. Is it over?
What's that I do a song there?
It's the tongue. Oh, I got them backwards. I keep
Chat isechan. Chat isechan. Okay, and so we see the object chat meaning you. Chat isechan, right?
So if you said hut iksehan ge, it would be.
That is correct. Yes, chat isechan ge.
Which might be more appropriate than just on something.
Yeah, like when we're getting, like when I was eliciting these examples from speakers, and I'd say, you love me, and they're like, you don't say that. And I'd say, you all love me, and they're like, you don't say that, right? And I was like, well, what if I was saying, like, thank you for loving me? They're like, you don't say that either. So, some of these are strictly examples. They're strictly, like in teasing, like, sure. But, because you could say, Khatisakhan. Achaway Nayadi Aya Achit Kukiti. You love me. This is why you're going to give me your dry fish, right? So you can do it kind of teasing, but just be careful. Just be careful.
Or if someone did something really nice for you, you might say that to them. Oh, you love me.
Right? Yeah. Right. Yes. Just be careful.
Yeah.
Just have trouble.
Do love me.
How would you say
You
that?
really love me.
For that, for really, if you were using, so like in her example about when she was trying to say I love my job, and you kind of change it to my job makes me happy. But what if you want to say, well, it makes me really happy? Would you use like kunach there?
Yeah,
And would you
kunach.
put it before
Yeah, so
or
there's
after the?
so here's like kunach is really tach, and they're not like exact. This is kind of saying very. So those do about the same thing. Like I could say, tach ich sechan, I really love you. Kunach ich sechan, I really love you. And then you could say, and then if you want to bump it up into like this stratosphere level, like you're really trying to accomplish something. There's a couple ways. So you could say kach kunach. Now you're really buttering things up here. And then there's another one, which doesn't look like that. Start speaking Greek. Kachwasa, which has this little question thing. But like, so for example, you could say, if this was like we were happy, right? We were really happy. We were very happy. We were really just so happy. How happy we were. There's a little bit of a different sort of a thing, right, with that last one. But these are some adjectives you could throw in front of a verb just to get a little bit more of that kind of stuff going. Anybody else got? And we'll come back. We're going to get to a point where we're doing a whole bunch of stuff like this. I did it. You did it. He or she did it. They did it. Y'all did it. Somebody did it, right? And these are. Was somebody gonna?
Yeah, this is Gandas Achi. I was just working on something else because I wanted to ask everybody. Let's see if I have anything that makes sense. Adu sa ya yi gut. Sorry, I should have started with Achi. Tribe called Red. Adu sa ya yi gut.
Okay, so we got a tribe called Red. So we could call them We Na An Yach Yati. It's a little weird because we don't have real names for colors, because you could say like they're going to end up being a tribe called Fire, but We Na An Yach Yati Yeduasak Aduch Sa Hastu Khande. That's probably how I'd recommend. Aduch Hastu Khande Kakwakuch. Who is going to go see them? Who's going to go be by them? And there's other ways, like whether we're going to do chatin or to listen or something like that. But hastu khande. Khande is a really good one. It means you're going to go see somebody, visit them, be next to them. Whenever you have people, we're going to get to our emotion chapter, and you'll see that whenever you have people, this is what you'd use. And then aduch is usually the best way to put that together when you're asking who's going to do the verb. Who's doing this verb? Then we go to aduch. Aduch sa hastu khande kakwakuch. Khataya.
Doesn't they have a second uncle?
No. And so, you guys want the rules on suffixes?
No. Fake.
Here's the short version for now. If it's open, which means it ends with a vowel, it's the opposite of the tone before it. Easy. If it's closed, it's always high. That's it.
Opposite of the vowel tone.
Yeah. So you go khande, and then you go shade. If it's open, it's opposite of the tone before it. Okay.
So that's this Thursday, right? During our class time.
Well, it starts at 7:30. So we'll be done probably by 6:45 to give everybody enough time. And if you have to sneak out before then because you're hanging with the band or whatever, that's fine. But just try, we'll be done at 6:45. We'll still have class because they're not stopping us. They're not a tribe called Get Out of Tlingit Class. We're the tribe that says Tlingit. Yeah. That's my bad jokes.
Dancer is going to be performing before and during the concert?
Yeah, so if you're performing, that's fine. You can go and you can watch the class.
So, like, if she asked who's going to the tribe called Red, how would you say me?
Chat.
Chat.
Chataya. So question. Dakuninach, Kitcheninach, Okayati, Adegatukuch. Okay. Okay. Let's do a couple of these and then we'll take our break. Because these are so much fun. Okay, so we did this whole page. We started zooming in on these things. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm not looking. Somebody online, please read this one. Out loud. Somebody online. I'm not sure if I was conveying. Somebody online. Okay. Haskin haskashnik. Can we translate this one?
They are telling a story is the second half.
Yeah, the second one is they're telling stories or a story. Hashkashnik, they're telling stories.
Sitting.
They are sitting, right? So qeen is the plural form to sit. So some of you might have heard this in a command form, qayqi, which is a command form for y'all sit down. And there's a few different verbs that are the end falls off in the command form. Qayqi is one of them. Can we think of one more? There's a few different verbs where the consonant at the end falls off in the command form. Qayqi is one of them, because you'd say hasqeen. Well, ishi is, that's more like a particle. It just means generally don't. Shish just pops up before a verb. But for example, you would say, hot iyagut. You came here. If I wanted you to come here, I would say, hagut. The end is gone, right? Goot is that verb. Goot is the root.
I am Goot.
He's just always walking around that tree. They're sitting. They are telling stories. Okay, somebody in the room. Anyone? Who?
de yada kun in play a play has do to us.
Okay. Do you ducku in ashech? Ashech has to us.
Dancing.
Dancing, yep.
Together. Is in? No.
Well, in is with.
With.
Wooch is together. In, yeah. So then, but these start revealing patterns. There's all kinds of things you could do with in. And in is interchangeable with tin or teen. Do you ducku in ashech? Ashech to wasaku.
Makes them happy.
Well, the to wusaku is happy, and so it's related. But I would probably say to wasaku, the default is usually want, but if it doesn't make sense, it's also they enjoy it. They love it. They like it. It's probably they like to dance. Do you ducku? Look at how she's looking at him.
So lovely in his eyes.
That's her boyfriend, right? Do you ducku is her boyfriend.
Oh.
Yaduk is a young man, and then Yaduku would be that's my boyfriend, and he's usually a young guy. Yaduku. That's just how that works. Okay. Anybody read this? Somebody.
Hagu. An kade nach tu at.
Hagu. On kade, and the vowel here should be long. Nach tu at. It's not written long, but it should be long. Can we translate that?
Come here.
Come here.
Let's go to town.
Let's go to town, or let's go downtown.
Let's go downtown.
Whatever. If we're going to the Viking or whatever. Let's go to town. Okay, good cheese. So we completed. Yeah, I know. It looks like
So bad.
coming downtown. I gotta take care of the downtown. Not exactly sure. Why there's a little bit of anger. Okay, let's take 6 minutes. Come back. We're gonna move back to where we were in beginning Tlingit and try and fly through some things. So the chips have broken out in the class, which gets us to an appropriate phrase. So we did some body parts. We're kind of just cruising through this beginning Tlingit stuff. If any of this stuff is not making sense, you can ask, and you can also, you come to my office hours if that works. There's other beginning Tlingit classes where we did a little bit more sort of drilling and stuff, but this is all kind of review. And one thing I'd like to do next week is to move us to, we'll keep finishing beginning Tlingit, but at the same time we're going to start doing Hausanei Chayu Chatungi. So they never sent me the book, so I don't know. There's an online version. I'll get some printed books. But by next Tuesday, you guys should you should read like the opening chapters up to where it starts talking about tricky nouns. I think it's chapter 4 or something. So the first 3 chapters, I think you should read. It's got some learning philosophies and stuff that we've already talked about, but it also lays out just how nouns work in Tlingit. And so you should have a good understanding of that. We'll cover some of that stuff, and we'll do tricky nouns next week, because we did sound practice a bunch last year. Now we'll do tricky nouns where it's like, oh, well, if you say this a little bit different, it's not down feathers, it's fart, and so those are some things we'll work on. In the meantime, this chapter moves into feelings and states of being. So everybody repeat after me. Ach id yan uwaha.
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 So you should be able to recognize a pattern. You should be able to see it right away. And if I said, well, how would you say you are hungry? E eat yan uwaha, we are hungry. Ha eat yan uwaha, y'all are hungry. Ye eat yan uwaha, he or she is hungry. Do eat yan uwaha, they are hungry. Has do eat yan uwaha, so we say, oh, that's a possessive pronoun, that's how you take care of this. You gotta keep your pronouns straight, or else you'll end up saying something like ibdach ati has do wasak, where you're using the wrong pronoun, where it should be just has do wasak or ye has do wasak. Okay. Ach eat yatawaha. 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 So what are similar about these two phrases? So ach eat, and then uwaha, right? So you have this one, they run into each other with this yata. Yeah, so it has arrived. So when you have this eat, ach eat is like it has arrived to me. Uwaha would be like it has come kind of invisibly, because if you think about it, like this is how Tlingit thinks about emotions and feelings, and we'll keep track of this stuff. For this one, it's just sort of like, usually if you're hungry, it's not like, ooh, I'm starting to get hungry. I think I'll be hungry in probably about 20 minutes, but it's usually like, I'm hungry. And same with this one, it's not tired. This one, you ever just be sitting there all of a sudden, you just, oh, bedtime, right? I am sleepy. It comes just like that. Because it's not one of those things where you're like, I'll probably be sleepy in about 5 minutes, right? It's just like, boom, sleepy, right? So there's certain things that arrive like that. Lear has a list of them.
And
I guess.
It's more like,
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted too.
But it doesn't come
tired.
Suddenly.
Yeah, so that's just a state. So it's sort of like with that, like with some of the states, like you can be on the way to getting there. You know, like you could, I'm getting tough, I'm getting strong. You know, strong, yeah, you can get there. And then, just for fun, there is this big list of verbs that Jeff Lear has. If you ever want to just have some fun, you can look at this thing like all night. It's got tons and tons of stuff in it. It's really an amazing document. And so here's to eat uwaha, feels like crying, right? And then you could say to eat ausaha, made somebody feel like crying. So, and then let's find, there's a big list, oh, here they are. So I will translate all of them, you can see them. Do eat yan uwaha, do eat shakuh uwaha, do eat shuk uwaha, do eat getawaha, do eat at uwaha, do eat shuk uwaha, do eat shish uwaha, do eat has uwaha. Some of these would probably have high tone marks, but most of these, almost all of them are verbs or verb roots. So shuk and shish and has are verb roots to do those things, right? To urinate, to poop, and to vomit. Yata, so ta is a verb root for sleep. Shuk is a verb root to sit. Shakuh is a verb. It means the water has gone out of the head, basically, is what it means. Like it's been dumped out. And then at is just like something. And so those are kind of fun. Okay. Chat with the chwetch. Chat with the chwetch. Chat with the chwetch.
Chat with the question.
Chat shawakuch.
Chat shower cook.
Chat shawakuch.
Chat shower cook.
Chat shawakuch.
Chat shower cook.
So how would I say he or she is thirsty?
Who?
He or she is thirsty.
Just shawaku.
Shawakuch. They are thirsty. Has shawakuch. You are thirsty. Shawakuch. Y'all are thirsty. Ye shawakuch. We are thirsty. Ha shawakuch. And some of those, they're a little weird. Like you probably wouldn't say you were thirsty, right? But you could say like maybe.
Maybe have so many beer, maybe.
Obviously. Right? You could say maybe you're thirsty.
Get at the end, like
Yeah, you say ge or you say kshe. Gwash. Gwash at the front means maybe. Gwash shawakuch. Maybe you're thirsty. That's perfectly fine. But just to like make statements about people's state of being is a little.
So if someone had a headache, could you say maybe you're
Gwash shawakuch. And that works really well because the verb literally means like the water has dried up in your head. And so that's how Tlingit, that's how you think of those things. And there's also this weird thing like which means like there's no water in your head. But it literally translates to like you're dumb. Right? So you gotta be careful. So yeah, here's the ge. So we see the ge is not always at the end. So in this case, the ge, it's like Tlingit will put this marker right after the thing that you were asking about. So it's not like, you're not asking about hunger, you're not asking about arriving, you're asking about, is it at you? Did it make it to you? That's the kind of, and that's not like how Tlingit logic is working, that's how the language works. Whenever, if you want to think about where the ge goes, it's always right after the thing that you're asking. And we saw that with that one example, right? Ad akyu. Do yati ashat, is that your auntie holding the baby? Is that a baby your auntie is holding? Iat ayu. Do yati aga ashat, is she holding her baby? Right? Is she holding, and so putting it at the very end would be sort of like saying, is your auntie holding a baby? Like the question is on the verb. Is she holding a baby? Is she, and so it gets a little, it's just something to just keep looking at. Iitge yatawaha.
Iitge yatawaha.
Iitge yatawaha.
Iitge yatawaha.
Iitge yatawaha.
Iitge yatawaha.
Iudquetske.
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 You say kike, hook. Ishawakuchke.
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 Yeah, so your hand all dried up. But it just means, are you thirsty? Okay, so now we get.
Well, technically, when you get dehydrated, your thoughts are limited. So technically, it's actually physiologically right.
Yeah, I think they knew all kinds of things about the body.
I'm just saying, it's not really as harsh as it sounds.
Right. Yeah, just add water. Keep adding water. So now we see how another question particle can meet this one. So what beginning Tlingit does is it starts teaching these names for things, working on these sounds, getting these useful phrases. But now it starts saying, oh yeah, we can remember that thing, we can add it to this thing. Remember this thing, put it here. So now we've got the question particle, dasa, and then eat uwaha. So we saw this, dasa iatin. What do you see? Dasa itwasaku. What do you want? Right? you put a whole bunch of, you have a whole bunch of things that can come here, right? Dasai tuasikutuchai, what do you want us to eat? Dasa icha, what are you eating? So this can come right before the verb, and then it's just throwing the what in there. So here, like, what are you hungry for? And this one is where it gets kind of interesting, that whole itu aha part. Once you throw a noun in front of there, you're really saying you want that. You want it. It's not really specifically going to hunger, but it's just saying the craving for it has come. Like, you might be sitting there and you'd be like, ooh, I want some dry fish, and I want some deer meat, and I want some, this is my actual wish list in case you want to. Dasa e eat uaha.
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 Okay, I gotta get my list of, get my gang up here so I can ask everybody. So now you're gonna say something, and it should be like a food. We'll just use a food. It could be any kind of food. And then if you don't have a microphone online, you can type it. So I'll start with chukan. Dasa e itu waha. You gotta answer my question. Stir fry ach it uaha. Shana Kate. Dasa e it uaha. Oh, I think I saw it, but I can't hear I don't hear anything. Okay, we might come back. I didn't hear anything. Gandits aji dasa e itu waha.
Ak eat uaha.
Sakte u dasa e itu waha.
Tis kli ach eat uaha.
Yek sage dasa e itu waha.
Mangoes ach eat uaha.
Okay, shken dasa e itu waha.
Josh ach eat uaha.
Okay. Fastin dasa e itu waha.
Den ach eat uaha.
Tana dasa e itu waha.
Nayadi ach eat uaha.
Okay. Shana Kate, you want to try it again? Dasa e itu waha.
Click. Ach eat uaha.
It was tight. Okay, it was changed. Everybody thought you said click. Like, no, I'm not going to try it. Click.
No, very.
Yeah, wait. I heard it. All right. Tanessa, dasa e itu waha.
Kuch ach eat uaha.
Okay, dasa e itu waha.
Because I'm a skier, tleitach kusitan ach eat uaha.
Okay. Dasa e itu waha.
Nighty ach eat uaha. Kunst ach eat uaha. Stink eggs ach eat uaha. Koch ach eat uaha.
Just a cut again. There's one in there that's a good one. So we've got eggs. Kahak kats'i. And I think this one has several names, but kahak kats'i is one of them. Those are what we call stink eggs. So the kahak is salmon eggs or fish eggs. Kats'i is, it's getting there as far as the fermentation process. It's not a very attractive verb as far as food goes. If you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. Okay.
Pizza.
Chop suey.
Okay. 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 Chishuhan. Khatko aquas. Nayadi achiduaha. So now here comes our food section. Yummy. Like this is a great thing to do at 7 o'clock at night. Just look at. Okay. Utchi. 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 Atishi. 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 So this one is that's a verb root with a repetitive suffix on there. Ut is to boil fish. For boiled fish, right? Not this. Even this is a picture where I'd probably say, look at those little green things. Somebody messed it up. And then atishi is also a verb.
I see like a carrot in there too.
Right?
That's like, wow.
I'll get a better picture.
Is that a stew?
Take a picture of your own boiled fish.
Right? This is a chowder. Look, see, I contradict my own logic with this picture. This one is a verb as well. It has to do with really preparing probably that hard dried fish. Because I've heard other speakers who'll say, at duwakishi is what they like to call it. And then the at means something, right? So atishi is dry fish, but you could specify what kind of dry fish, like what kinds of dry fish might we have? How would you say it? Chatishi. That's it. So yeah. Yeah, ishi. Ishi. Chas ishi. Pot ishi. Ishi. So we can have, that might be I guess you can get exotic if you were like in Hawaii and you applied your dry fish methodology, but usually, there's a pretty typically limited group of fish that would fall into this category. Nayadi. 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 There's a similar sort of kinship term, which is that the tone mark jumps to this side, so it's a different word, na-yedi. So na-yedi would be like, I'm Kagwantan Yedi. If someone else is Kagwantan Yedi, I could say, ach na-yedi, because we're the child of the same clan. That's a kinship term that Ishmael Hope translates as my half-smoked brother.
That's a good picture, by the way.
That was my night. Hey, shoot. Lonely for that place. Okay. So here's another thing. When we talk about the types of meat, fish have a different flesh than animals, right? So animals have glee, and we'll get to that. And glee also means muscle. Right, and this was a pretty fun conversation I had with my daughter. She said, "What's under my skin? What's under the skin?" And I said, "Glee." And she says, "Meat?" Because muscle, we eat mussels, right? And not like mussels on the beach, but like the muscles of things is what we eat. And so in English, you have a really indirect way, because you don't really go to a restaurant and say, I will have the flesh of a cow, please. And then I think I would start doing that. I would like some unborn chickens and a side of pig fat that's been smoked. But one of the important things is that fish don't have glee. Fish have right? So if we take that possessive marker off there, we have This was one that Ha Japti told some other students, Ginny, she told me about it. He was worried that this was a word that we were going to lose track of, and it would all become glee. Chad chuchu. Chad chuchu. Chad chuchu. Chad chuchu. And we keep track of the vowel length, right? Because I had a student who had a really neat project, and he took like the Alaska Marine Highway promotional video, and then he took all of the audio off of it, put Ed Littlefield's jazz music in the background, and then he narrated over the top of it in Tlingit. It was awesome. But there was one point where these brown bears were eating fish, and he says, Chet has awacha rehoots. And so he meant to say, Chat has awacha. So he said, the bears are eating me, right? And I was like, that was a great video. You were so calm about being eaten by brown bears. So just vowel length, vowel tone. Tahini. 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 At kahini. At kahini. At kahini. At kahini. At kahini. At kahini. So similar to dry fish, what do you see in here?
And the possessive verb.
Well, the at part, right? So the at can be substituted. So you could have anjis kahini, you could have kanata kahini, you could have ka kahini. So the at can be substituted. It really means some things, in this case. Some things.
On the face of the water.
Not like ka is the surface.
The surface.
Yeah. So it has something to do with like getting squished into juice.
Could you be hungry for a beverage? Could you be like hungry for beer or hungry for juice?
Yeah, because that remember that blank ach is just like the craving for it has come. So it could be you say giwa ach ituah, kachwe ach ituah. And you could also say ach tuasa. Right? And so the difference would be like I want it as opposed to like this craving for it has come. Like it could be.
Sometimes you do have great.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Okay. K. 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 Sa echi. Sa echi. Sa echi. And those peeping from the south, and from Cake, from Teslin. I don't know about Yakutat. I don't think they'd say ichi. Sa ichi. Sa ichi. Sa ichi. Sa ichi. Oh, and Chish Sitka as well. So you guys are the ich peeping, right? So that vowel switch, it should be something that you just recognize it. And sometimes if you're talking with like an elder and you know where they're from, like it's a really polite thing to speak in their dialect. It's just a really nice thing to do. And you don't have to, but sa gliye, sa gliye, sa gliye, sa gliye, sa gliye, sa gliye, qawakan gliye. Qawakan gliye. Qawakan gliye. Qawakan gliye. Qawakan gliye. Qawakan gliye. Qaq. 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 Kunz, 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 kunz. Shao, 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 shao. Sao, 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 sao. Gosh, 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 gosh. Kahak, 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 kahak. Zikshashtin, 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 zikshashtin. And so some of these things, like, you can just stop saying the other names for them. You're in Tlingit country. People can begin accepting this transition, right? And so if you need to explain it, explain it. But these are, especially like some of the foods that we really like to eat, these are just some things, right? And so part of me wants to create this sort of insider club, right? So we could, I want to have a Tlingit radio show, or I want there to be a Tlingit radio show where it'd be like, oh, you could find really good Nagoon berries right here at this place. It's all in Tlingit, right? It's like totally like secret messages all over about where to go. Shakask. 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 Caught. 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 Okay, so now we start looking at these things, getting a little bit more information. So earlier in beginning Tlingit, we weren't looking at all the information that's packed into the way we document verbs now. But here we see N, and this is a pronoun, but it could also just be a noun. Like you could say, Kage to usagu, the dog wants something, right? And so you could say, Tsa'aqi kage to usagu, the dog wants a bone, right? You could say, Atchishi, away chone to usagu, chone wants atchishi. So that's why we write this as a capital N. That just means noun. That's all that means is noun. There's some noun that goes in there, including a pronoun. In a lot of these phrases, though, the pronoun is the most common thing that gets put in there. Okay? And it can mean you like it, you want it, you enjoy it, you love it, those types of things. Okay? And the tu-wa, as opposed to the tu-wu, we just got to keep looking for that, listening for it, and making sure that, because tu-wu-sagu is I feel happy, right? Feeling happy. Tu-wa-sagu is wanting or liking. Okay. So here's again, question particle right at the beginning. Dasai tu-wa-sagu. Dasai tu-wa-sagu. Hin ach tu-wa-sagu. Kusachan ach tu-wa-sagu. Tlingit ach tu-wa-sagu. So there's a fill in the blank type of thing. And so these are just ways to just continue to have, dana ach tu-wa-sagu, right? Yis washdan kwan ka shetahani ach tu-wa-sagu. So you can say things like that. You're not supposed to, I'm apparently not supposed to say stuff. Say it again.
Apple.
Oh, okay, yeah. So there we go. So when you put the kach in there, the ut goes away. So think of the ut as a placeholder. So when you say ut kahini, that's juice. Any kind of juice,
so you don't need
right? Like kids, I want juice, right? Like any kind of juice. But yeah, so then kag kahini, pineapple kahini, right? And so mango kahini. So that it's sort of like when you put something there, then that thing goes away.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So then And then we see now we're starting to change the pronoun, right? So we already did some of this, right? Dasa du tuwasagu. So then how would you say, what do y'all want? Dasa yi tuwasagu. What do they want? Dasa hasdu tuwasagu. Right? So the hasdu, ach, ha, yi, that's that possessive pronoun right there. And so now you could say, Dana du tuwasagu. Atcha du tuwasagu. And now so we see where the question particle goes. Is it this thing that you want? Right? So it goes right after the thing. So I could say, una ge tuwasagu. Yai ta yige tuwasagu. Ta yai ta yige tuwasagu. That's, you want whale fat, right? And then so now you got these other answers, and so these are whole language things. So as we were practicing this stuff, you would say hin ge tuwasagu, hin ach tuwasagu, but it's just trying to reinforce the pattern in like conversations. Hin ge tuwasagu, yes, right.
You may have already said it, but is there a rule for when you use hus and hus do?
Yes. So the hus do is only, when you look at this theme and you see, when we go back to this theme, when we say n plus tuwa s, so there's a subject there, sigu. So the subject would be the hus. Subjects and objects are hus. This outside noun, we call it an indirect object. And we see it in the definition for n to want. Now that n has to be, that would be a possessive pronoun. So if that's the case, we'd say has do tuwasagu. So especially we have n plus tuwa, n plus tuwu, n plus e, like you could say, the command form for help me is achit edesheh. Everybody say achit edesheh. Achit edesheh. Achit edesheh. Achit edesheh. Achit edesheh. Achit edesheh. How would I say then, help them? Not quite, not quite. So if it's ach, whenever you see ach, that's the one that becomes hastu. Hastu idishih, help them. Ha'id idishih, help us. Right? And so these are some things, but if it's just a straight S or O, that's the one that gets the has. If it's tying itself directly to what's inside the verb, then it's the has. Here's another interesting thing, is for N to want, like, desire, S. So here's the Tlingit magic phrase, right? Ach tuwach isigu. That's how you'd say, like, I want you, baby. Like it's on. Like it's gonna or not, right? Because we're very aware of what kind of social climate we live in. But as far as like how these, but it could also, and it doesn't always mean like in like this sexual way, right? Because we hear Cyril George says, Hastu tuwach isigu. They want you. They want you to learn Tlingit. You are the ones that they are wanting and thinking about. And so these things are very dynamic, just learning how to change these little things. And the hastu and the has is one that gets people tripped up a lot. So people might say, for example, we're talking about clans and stuff, and we'd say, kukitan, hus do a song. And that's probably the one that gets people a little mixed up because they hear hus do, but they're actually hearing hus as connecting to the pluralizing the object pronoun, and do as the subject pronoun. That's the one that probably gets people a little bit tangled up. Because you would say, Hasayasa, they call them this, right? Okay, again? Maybe. We'll keep looking at examples of it. So to not want something is a different verb, because when we change the classifier, we have changed to a different verb. Although there are a few cases where we tend to switch the verb in the negative form. There's not a whole lot. But usually we say yak-a and kesh-ushke. Those are two different verbs, but there's, you could say kesh-uk-a, but nobody does it. Nobody says that. Right? And so the difference is yak-a would be good, kesh-uk-a would be not good, kesh-ushke would be terrible, bad, horrible. Right? So this is a similar one. So for this one, a lot of times you would have the thing at the end. Not always, but that's usually the pattern. So for example, you could say, kesh-ach tuwa ushku heen. For whatever reason, like I don't want water. Kesh-ach tuwa ushku dana. Kesh-ach tuwa ushku. And then you can have all kinds of things here. But to not want something. But a lot of times, like if someone just might say something, and to put it in a cultural context, if you're at a pu'ik, the answer is always yes. Right? If your opposites are offering you something in ceremony, you just take, cheesh, right? But in another context, like maybe someone has something they're eating and they'll say, Yategay to us, do you want this? Want some of this? Or, they might say, on kadejach to art, let's go downtown. I don't want to. Right? And so it doesn't always have to have this noun. It could be just a response to something. Okay, so now I'm beginning to get hungry, even though I said you can't do that. Ach ide ya nahin. Ach ide ya nahin. Ach ide ya nahin. Ach ide ya tanahin. Ach ide ya tanahin. Oh, let's see. If you were asking about this one, so there is a pronoun. So like this is where the possessive pronoun is. So we recognize that by seeing it as ach. So again, we say kesh ach tuwa ushka, I don't want it. Kesh ituwa ushka, you don't want it. Kesh ha tuwa ushka, we don't want it. Kesh yi tuwa ushka, y'all don't want it. Kesh du tuwa ushka, he or she doesn't want it. Kesh has du tuwa ushka, they don't want it. And, I don't want your. So like let's say if in this case the your was like your water. Like let's say this is a good parent example. A kid's like, nah, you want some water? And they've been backwashing it and stuff. I don't want your water. So next week we're going to learn how to possess nouns. We're getting ready for Halloween. We can start possessing things. It's a joke. You could say kesh ach tuwa ishku. I don't want you. Then that goes in the category of things, you know, Sean, right? But you gotta know how to see. Rejections are part of life, and so are like arguments. We gotta be careful, but if you want to learn to live in a language, you gotta learn to do everything in a language, I think. And that includes, like, I remember this one elder, he didn't want to do negative feelings. Like, I'm sad, I'm angry. He just didn't want to do that. And I understand. But then, you know, I talked to him later. I said, but you know, or else I'm just going to say that stuff in English. Because people, they say these things. Like, how are you? Well, I'm unhappy. And so what we did is we did reasons why you could be unhappy. It's like, I lost at bingo. My grandkid got hurt. And so when we tied it to a context, he relaxed it. And so I try. I don't want to be pushy, and I want to recognize that. But what that tells us is, like, talking about those negative things is like, it's a big sort of thing. It's not something you do like, if we're all sitting here talking, it's probably not something you would really do. You would just keep it between your close friends. Long time ago. So, Tesh ach tua ushku ihini. Tesh ach tua ushku dudanayi. How would you translate that? Tesh ach tua ushku dudanayi.
I don't want their money.
I don't want his or her money.
Oh.
I don't want his money, right? So the do. So we've got the possessive marker. So what we see when we have these blanks, you could put multiple things in there. You could also put whole verbs in there. I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want you to tell me, right? So there's all kinds of things you can put in there. But so a blank is a blank. You put different things in there.
So when I'm getting, actually, I feel like I'm starting to get to know where I'm still, you said to recognize the and the and the has, so that would to determine if it was a possessive or
Yep.
future or object, would determine where the noun would go in the front or the back.
Yeah, so when we come back to this sheet, we start getting good at spotting what type of thing is it, right? So if we see ach, we know it's in this list, and that's where the hastu is located. If we see that it's a subject, you know, and then sometimes we can tell, like we'll see something in there like then we can see, oh, that's an object. Okay, now I can pick from these object categories. And then when we see khasakhan, we go, oh, okay, that's the subject one. So now I can pick, and so what we try to do is visualize it as like sort of these, you know, I was thinking of them as like slot machine wheels, like you pull the thing and you can have cherries and you can have a lemon and you can have $1, but you can only get one thing on each wheel. And so that's what you have is these wheels. And if there's a wheel there, you have to pick something from that wheel. So if the theme says OS classifier STEM, you must put an object and a subject in there. You cannot ignore it. You have to go there. And then we start to recognize when it's some other type of pronoun. These three are in the middle are probably the big ones to focus on, because those are the ones that tend to get people a little bit tangled up. So you hear people say, like if I was introducing myself, you might hear me say, Chone ye do a sak, but I should be saying yechat do a sak, right? And just that chat part. And so these are some things as we encounter these verbs, looking at that theme, seeing what that theme is telling us. There's a few of these, like when we say that ach eat, that's here, to me, to you, to them, you know, those types of things. Okay, good. Okay, so Thursday's a shorter class. If you've got to go be with your group, that's totally fine. And then by next Tuesday, you should be up to, in the Hausane Chayu Chatungi, you should be through the nouns chapter. So read the whole thing through the nouns chapter.
Hausane Chayu
Where are the books? I don't have one yet.
I'll see if they can send them to me. I've asked them to send them. And they've only got like 15 left. But it is online, so you can get it electronically for now. And I'll get you started. Oh, class is going on Thursday till about 6:45. And then we'll cut out a little early. But I'll give you guys a little assignment to make up for those extra 45 minutes. Get your cheese, which
Nice fermented. You have a screen with fermented. Somewhere.
Kasi.
So can kasi be anything from it?
Yeah, so let's take a look at kasi. So we look it up by the root. And we get C. So yeah, ink kind of has its own thing. But if something is fermented, it doesn't mean like rotten. But that kasi at the end would mean like if it's something that we ferment and eat or drink. It's like kombucha would probably be there and some other things.
Or wine.
Yeah, so probably kale kasi. We'll just keep it the same order.
I don't know if it's because
check.
No, I think
Yuck,
Are these